Hi again, this is part 4 of chapter 3, which is the last part, hopefully. We are going to talk about the market equilibrium. So we explained what do we mean by markets, and we classified them into inputs market, output markets. We focused on the goods or product markets, and we explained the demand side and the supply side of a specific market, how the demand and supply can be explained. Now we want to combine them. So these are the two forces existed in the market, and these forces are interacting through negotiation, through bargain, and we will let the market to determine how much to be produced, so what questions is going to be answered, and at which price. The price also is going to be explained. So this is known as the market equilibrium. Market equilibrium. And it's a condition on which there is no tendency for any further bargain or negotiation. And it's where the buyers and sellers reach an agreement and the market is basically cleared, or market is being settled. So the condition that exists when quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal, it is called the market equilibrium. At equilibrium, there is no tendency for any price change or quantity change. And this can be explained with the notion of excess demand and excess supply. The disequilibrium, anything but equilibrium, we would have that quantity demanded and quantity supplied are unequal. So in the equilibrium, quantity demanded of commodity X is exactly equal to the quantity supplied of commodity X. Okay, so this is what we call it, the equilibrium takes place. And the price which is paid by the consumers is going to be equal to the price paid by the, received by the suppliers. Whereas in excess demand is disequilibrium. We can add a this here and read it through. So in excess demand, quantity demanded of commodity X is far larger than quantity supplied of X. So what is being produced is not enough to the buyers are willing to buy more amount than the sellers wants to sell. So the gap is considered as excess demand, or the market is facing a shortage. So the condition that exists when quantity demanded exceeds quantity supplied. Alternatively, we are going to discuss the excess supply. But visually speaking, the condition of which there is excess demand, imagine that quantity demanded is larger than the quantity supplied. And this has happened in this market for soybeans at the price 1.75 dollars per bushels of soybeans. How much the supplier are willing to sell? They're gonna sell 25,000 bushels. How much at this price per bushel the buyers are willing to buy? 50,000. So there's the quantity demanded is twice more than the quantity supplied. So this gap here is represented by the excess demand. If there is excess demand, if everything else in the supply curve and the demand curve is constant, or it's the condition of ceteris paribus, the buyers and sellers are two different groups. Then they may go to the negotiation that the sellers the buyers would argue that why don't you sell me more, and his answer would be, I would only sell more if you are happy to pay more. So the price have a tendency to increase, and there are some people in this situation that their willingness to pay is actually higher. So they may actually say that serve me first, I am happy to pay more. And as this is increasing, the price starts increasing. Then as the price is increasing, the demand is also gonna be quantity demanded are gonna be decreased. At this price, exactly the quantity demanded is going to be equal quantity supplied, and the willingness to pay is going to be equal to the willingness to receive, or willingness to basically, yes, willingness to sell are going to be exactly equal. And then that's the price of which reserved by the buyers and sellers, and that's going to be, so they are going to agree about a price, and they're going to be, whatever is being produced is going to be sold. So there is no excess demand at the equilibrium point. We can alternatively discuss the excess supply. Excess supply is another disequilibrium. This is when the quantity supplied is larger than the quantity demanded. Okay, in this situation, the quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded at the current price. The price has the tendency to fall. We can show it in the graph. Let's say that at current price we have price at the level of $3, and at $3 the willingness to buy is that not buying more than 25,000 bushels because it's priced high. But at this price they are happy, suppliers are happy to sell 65,000. So this gap here is gonna be produced, but it's not gonna be sold. So it's called excess supply or the surplus. The surplus, it means that it is sitting in the shelves and it's not going to be sold. So what would be the solution for this situation? Usually the supplier would give discount, or would accept to reduce the price, and is the price is reduced, demand side is the willingness to buy is increasing, and of course the willingness to sell will decline because it's going to be cheaper and cheaper as in terms of marginal cost, and we reach the equilibrium of the $2. So if the price is higher than the equilibrium price, the tendency is the price to go down. If the price is lower than the equilibrium, the tendency of the price in bargain, I like this word, bargain, a process of which the two groups, buyers and sellers, negotiate, communicate, and you might have seen it in the ordinary markets, that when you go, you're not supposed to accept whatever the price the sellers are saying. You always bargain, and to have it. Sometimes they say, oh, why it does not exist in supermarkets like Lulu or Carrefour. It is actually exists because the retailers are bargaining on behalf of the buyers with the suppliers, and then they try to get it as cheap as possible for the buyers. So the retailers are often doing the bargain on behalf of. That's why when you go to the market, you see that the price tags keep changing, because sometimes they bid for getting cheaper products, and they bid. And by the way, they are providing a wide range of items. For example, if you want to buy rice or fruits, it exactly says that these are different types, and you have a choice to buy the one which is according to your willingness. So here in this market equilibrium, we would have quantity demanded is exactly equal to the quantity of the specific type of commodities. So markets are answering trial questions: what to produce, it means that how much, and at what price to be produced. So all those three trial questions, and for whom to be produced, whoever is got enough willingness to pay, that those should be served. So what, how, and for whom is going to be simultaneously be answered. There's the way of I told you that in mathematics we have the y variable here and x variable here, right? So we say y is a function of x. So if this is independent and this is dependent, those of you have not, so it may be like this. When it comes to the demand and supply, we said that quantity demanded is a function of price and other things. So other things, if it remains the same. So which one is the dependent variable? Is quantity demanded. So shall we write it here? The convention is to put the y variable over here. So quantity demanded is written here and the price is put here. This is because of the convention. So if it is demand function, it looks like this, if it's linear. So we are sometimes been given price is equal A plus, minus. Of course it's minus. Minus B Q. This is the wrong description, because we have to write it in this way. So we can basically solve it for Q. So quantity demanded is gonna be equal. You take this to the left and this one you bring it here. So again the price, the relationship would be negative. So we divide both sides by B, so it becomes A divided by B minus 1 over B price. So you better choose this way of representation of the quantity demanded. So now you tell me the price, I tell you the quantity. Whereas this one is quite opposite. If consumers wants to buy this much, how much he or she is willingness to pay. Willingness to pay, maximum amount of willingness to pay. So if you are determined to buy, let's say, 100 units of this commodity, are you willing to pay this much? Of course. Are you willing to pay 0? Of course. Are you willingness to pay? Are you willingness? How much highest willingness to pay? This is also called in some textbooks reserved price. Actually, the buyers are not telling this price. They keep it secret, and they will see that that's how the bargain happens. The bargains, the supply, let's say, is like this supply, and this is the demand. The demand, they will start as low as possible. Of course, they say, no, it is not possible that this is like 2, this is 4, this is 6. Okay, when they enter to market to buy the items, they have in their mind that for the 100 units of Q, they're not gonna pay more than $6 because $8 they are not willing to pay. Okay, above this, it's like a production possibility frontier. It determines, demand function is making a distinction between what is willing to pay and what is not willing to pay. Anything above the demand function is not willing. So this is not attainable. Simply because we are not we think of it's unaffordable for the buyers. But below that, you set a price and you keep it secret, and the sellers are keep their willingness to receive. This is the willingness to receive. Quantity supply is a function of price and other things. This price is expressed as their willingness to receive, and it's represented by the marginal cost as the price is equal willingness to receive or reserved price. They keep it high because if they want to sell 100, this is the minimum. $2 is the minimum. Of course, if they can convince the seller to buyers to pay $6, he or she would be happy to pay $6. But they go with the negotiation, and often something in between takes place. Let's say $4. So this is the benefit, surplus benefit, consumer surplus, and this gap in this side is considered as producer surplus. The other chapter, the chapter 4, is explaining about these things, but we are gonna skip it. But just wanted to let you know that if the demand function is expressed like this, is saying that the price, the willingness to pay, is a function of the quantity demanded. Whereas in this one, the quantity demanded is the function of, so it is inverse function. Those of you know mathematics, this is the way that we described it, that quantity is a function of the price, and in either way, the slope is negative. The slope is negative. With the supply also, if I want to say, the price is C, here it should be positive, D, quantity supplied, or we express it like this. So then again, C divided by D plus 1 over D price. So this is the demand and this is the supply. If you know these things, like the slides is giving an example of, then you can determine the equilibrium. So you equate them, you equate the demand and supply, and you determine the equilibrium level of. So if the quantity demanded is 14 minus 2p and quantity supply, the supply curve is 2 plus 4, always and always make sure that this is negative because it's demand function. This is positive because it's supply function. So this is supply, this is demand. And by equating these two, quantity demanded and quantity supply, then you can determine the equilibrium price, which is 2. And then you put the 2 either in this equation or in this, you get the 10 units as the equilibrium amount of quantity. Okay, quantity demanded and quantity supply both are going to be the same. What is being produced is going to be sold, so there is no shortage nor surplus. In the equilibrium, we won't have either of them. Now that we know the equilibrium is going to stay forever? No, because if the price only change, we're going to come back. The surplus or shortage is going to be eliminated. Shortage and surplus through the negotiation and the bargain is going to be negotiated. But what if other factors over time changes? So the shifts takes place, the equilibrium is going to be changing. So when supply or demand are going to be shifted in one way or another, then we have equilibrium change. And in the marketing, actually some people are specialized in predicting the price change, and then they make profit out of. If you are the first who know what would be the price, the direction of the price in a particular market, you take advantage of it before others, and then you can make a fortune. So for example, we have here initial demand and initial supply. So we are initially in point A, and then if the freeze come, so the coffee supply is going to be shifted to the left due to climate change. So supply is shifting to the left. It means that's going to be less supply. Hence, we are going to have immediately excess demand. And excess demand is pushing the price upward, and we are going to go to the point B. So I will write it here to tell you all the possible cases. Let's consider this. There are altogether there are 9 possibilities. 9 possibilities. So here we put the demand, here we put the supply, and we use increase as this and decrease as this sign. So either demand may increase, remains the same, or decrease, and the demand also increase, remain the same, and decrease. So I will make the partition. So what was the case which we just discussed? It was a decrease in the supply where the demand remained the same. I'll bring the curve again. So demand is not changed. Demand is the same blue line, but the supply is from S1 to S0 to S1. It's a decrease due to the freeze. Then the coffee supply is decreased, but the demand is remained the same. But it does not mean that the quantity demanded is going to be remaining the same, because immediately as a result of a shift in the supply, we are facing a huge excess demand, and excess demand is pushing the price up. So we are referring to this position, that supply has decreased and demand has remained the same. What's going to happen? The price are going to go up and the quantity are going to go down. You can see it. The quantity in the market go down and the price are going to go up. So you can basically quickly draw a curve in the corner of your paper exam and find the solution. So these are all the cases. If income is increasing, Pay attention that income has increased, so the demand is changing. But is it a normal commodity, normal good, or inferior good? If the income is increasing and it is normal, demand is increasing. So if the demand is increasing and supply remains the same, where we are, supply remains the same, but demand is increasing. What is going to happen? What is going to happen? You would see that both are increasing. Quantity is increasing and this is also increasing at the same time. So if the demand is shifting, so price is going to go up and quantity is going to go up as well. Of course, the middle one is know that price remains the same and quantity remains the same. So this is, if nothing happens, the shortage or surplus is going to be bouncing back to its original. But we are referring to all the other cells of this diagram as one, either demand or supply or both are changed. And we have this convention of showing increase with the upper arrow, decrease with lower arrow. But to be precise, actually increase should be shown this way and decrease should be shown this way, because sometimes if it is supply shifting leftward, actually it is shifting upward. So only with the supply you may face a contradiction. And if you want to twist you, those of you who are not practiced well, increase and decrease, you may get trapped and get a wrong perception. So you see, we said that supply is decreasing, but actually it's going to go upward. So why are we using this? Because we are referring to the shift to the left, as a decrease, not increase. For the supply is like that. For the demand, of course, if it is shifting to the right, it's also shifting upward. So increase is exactly presented by this. So this for freshman students is confusing, but if you practice, you will face no problem whatsoever. Imagine that we have increase of the income, but for an inferior goods. So then the demand is going to be decreasing, and then the price is going to go down and the quantity is going to go down as well. And this has been explained here. So if income is increasing but it is for inferior goods, everybody wants to get rid of this. They have trapped into it. It's for the poor families which have no other choice. This is the cheapest one. So the moment they get pay rise, they are buying less and their demand is shifting. So the both Q's and P's are going to be decreasing. What is this? This is for decrease of the income for normal goods. So because income has decreased, it's a normal goods shifting to the right. And this is the case of which decrease of income for inferior goods. So if it's inferior goods, your income is decreasing, you buy more of it. So it's a little bit twisting for the inferior goods to understand. But we already explained all of them. If supply remains the same and demand change. So we have answered those ones. Supply remains the same and demand is going up or down. And there are several examples of them, For example, this one is for increase of the price of substitute for X. Because it substitutes and because it's more expensive, so we are going to buy this one more. The commodity is an increase of the demand. But if it is increase of the complements, it's the demand is shifting to the left. And then again, the same principle. Price, and if only the demand shifts, price and quantity are gonna go with the same direction. Increase, increase, decrease, decrease. Whereas the supply curve is quite opposite. If we have, I draw it here for a case which the supply is increased. So I will use the blue as the initial one. So the demand is this and the supply, initial supply is this. Now the supply has increased, so it is basically shifting to the right or below. So we are referring to supply is increased, but the demand remains the same. What's going to happen? You are expecting that initial equilibrium is from point A to point B. So quantity is going to increase, but the price is going to be decreasing. So we can write it here that price will decrease and the quantity will increase. And we are certain about these things. The cross is all certain. But if both of them, both demand and supply is increasing, demand is increasing but supply is decreasing, demand decreasing, supply. So what about these ones? We can do one of them and then you can quickly practice for the other ones. The case, let's do this one, which if the both are increasing. So when you're drawing, make sure that you show the initial equilibrium, demand 0 and the supply 0. Now we change the color and we show both of them are increasing. So increase in the demand is this D1 and increase of the supply is S1. So initially we were in this point A, and do it one at a time. So first demand is increasing, we go to the point B, or supply is increasing, we come to the point C. But if both of them taking, ultimately we are going to be in point D. So ultimately we are going from point, so it's a diagonal movement. What is going to happen to the quantity? The quantity is certainly is increasing. So if you go from point A to B, quantity is increasing this much, and then from B to C, additional part. So the quantity is going to be certainly is going to be boosted in from both shifts. But about the price first, if you move from A to B, it's going to go up, and then from B to C, going to go down. So we are a little bit uncertain. The graph may be, this diagonal might be like this, or might be like this, or horizontal. So we don't know whether this is going to go up, down, or remain the same. So we are uncertain or ambiguous. There should be more information so as we know about the changes in the price. Now let's do another one. Where we have supply is decreasing and the demand is increasing. So the demand and supply, supply 0, demand 0, and then with another color, demand is increasing. So this is demand 1, but the supply is decreasing, S1. So where we started from point A, and we may go to first point B if only shifting the supply a decrease, or to point C if only considering the increase of the demand. But because both have changed, we ultimately come to the point D. The arrow is going to be somewhat diagonal towards the up. What that means? It means that we are certainly sure we are certainly sure that the price is going to be boosted. So from A to B, price is increasing, and from B to C, again, price is increasing. You do it this way also, it's boosting one another. So price is certainly is increasing, but the quantity actually depends on whether this is going to be like this, or like this. So the price, the quantity, we are ambiguous. We don't know whether it's decreasing or increasing. So you can do the other ones also. You can do the other ones by yourself. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. So they're all overall 9 possibilities. And all the possibilities are actually explained in these diagrams. The supply, if only supply change, so we did this in supply is increasing or decreasing. So we did it this and this. The quantity and price are gonna go in different directions. So basically what we did, we explained the market, 2 forces in the market, demand side and the supply side, and we explained the equilibrium. And here we had only the private sector, we did not bring the government. More government directive is explained in chapter 4, but we decided to not teaching chapter 4. So overall, we are done with the chapter 3, and you can basically yes, you can now do the homework of chapter 3, and that's it. Thank you.